What is up, everybody? What's up, Block of Horror fam? Welcome to Saturday. It's half hour horror. That means it's me, Aaron McLean, and my co-host. Oh, hey, it's Chase. What's happening, man?
How's it going, Aaron? Happy St. Patty's Day weekend.
Oh,
and happy
man.
St. Patty's Day weekend to all of you.
I'm so excited because I have a 4-year-old, and St. Patrick's Day means leprechaun pranks, and we get to like turn things upside down. We're putting googly eyes and everything, and she is making signs. It's like, leprechaun, please don't mess this up, and like putting signs on things. It's like, leprechaun, please don't mess this stuff up. And it is I can't wait.
But before we talk about our subject, we were talking about something before we went on air.
Yes,
This
it's
is
the fact
wild.
that Walmart is going gutter diving, man. Faces of Death is on sale at Walmart.
That's the thing. So I had saw because I follow a lot of physical media pages on TikTok. One you should definitely follow. Side note, I'm gonna give a plug to one of our friends at the Wicked Horror Show, Tony, who does a whole live stream where he just talks about and all his videos are about his physical media collection. He has an awesome physical media collection. Follow him on TikTok at Tony Has 9 Fingers. And also follow the Wicked Horror Show. So I saw something on TikTok. One of the physical media collectors I follow said they found Faces of Death at Walmart. And I thought it was one of those pranks. I remember there was like one thing, like do you remember last summer when they released Terrifier 2 on VHS at Walmart?
They did, yeah.
Yeah. And someone on TikTok who makes VHS box art, what she did was she had made a cover for Netflix's Fear Street trilogy. It's like, oh, I found this too. And it went viral, but people were like, what? They're doing Fear Street? Netflix is letting them do that. And then it turned out, no, it was just something she made. She shrunk
Katie Katie Video? Kadi?
I think so, maybe.
She does a lot of VHS covers, which I think is really awesome. And
yeah.
But
so yeah, I thought this was a joke. The other day I was walking through Walmart, and usually my thing is I like to go dive through the $5 bin. I like to see what's on the racks. Lo and behold, found this.
Faces of Death. Unbelievable. Now, like, I certainly have opinions on this movie, but you cannot deny its notoriety. It is a notorious film, and it portrays a lot of documentary footage that is gnarly of animals being executed, things like that. It's pretty
executed.
Yeah, people being some of that is fake. Some of it was recreated for the movie, but some of it's real, and it's a wild one. But I have to give a hats off to its notoriety, but also I can't believe that it's in Walmart, which notoriously censors their music selection and has these high horse opinions on things, and they, as a super PAC, they donate to actively hurt groups of people, but then Faces of Death is right there in their aisles. So family values.
That's the crazy thing is like there used to be this, I told you the story, this tiny video store in town. It shut down 15 years ago, but it was a little overpriced too, but they had a lot of hard to find stuff. I remember finding a Pam Grier blaxploitation film box set there, which you don't see anywhere.
Yeah. Awesome.
But they had real hard to find stuff like this. This is where you'd go to find some of the seedier, hard to find stuff. And it was just so funny. And I told you before we went on air, it was like you go down, look at one section, and it was the Disney cartoon DVDs, like Aladdin and Little Mermaid. Then you walk down 6 feet, and they had out in the open the adult film section.
I mean, that's how those mom and pops work, man. When I was in college, I went to school in Boston, and Newberry Comics is one of the best places. It's an incredible store. It's a big franchise now, but like that used to be the place where you could go find the weird, and like they always had good shit. I mean, I would spend so much money there on DVDs. Just absolutely love Newberry Comics. And I love, shout out to all the mom and pop stores that have that good sitting there, even if it is Faces of Death. I mean, come on.
Which is crazy too, because looking at back when I was a teenager and young adult and wanted to watch some of these kind of more rare, more seedier, dirtier like horror films like Faces of Death, like Solo, 120 Days in Sodom. Like I'd have to go to these like really seedy, like pirating sites.
Yep.
Like to watch them. And now, like, this is at Walmart.
Yeah,
and you can buy Solo 120 Days in Sodom.
It's a Criterion movie.
Criterion on Amazon for like $18.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. Wild. But you have to look at it. It's like these movies that have this notoriety. I don't think it's any less shocking. I think anytime you have like baby seals getting clubbed, I don't think it ever lessens the blow of that. But no. Man, that is crazy to me. And there's definitely a part of me that's like, go pick that up. Just so you're like, yeah, I got that shit.
That's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did.
Oh my God. Yeah. Some real just classic nasty. But today we're not talking about classic nasties. No, we're talking about, let me see. Let's run with this metaphor here. Leprechaun. Oh. We're talking about Leprechaun, but here's the metaphor I want to say. At some point, country music artists said, if I write a song about how awesome it is that your daughter's growing up into a beautiful young woman, they're going to have to play it at the wedding. They just have to. And I feel like that's what Leprechaun did. They're like, if we made a movie about a killer leprechaun, that's all you're going to be able to watch in March. And like, there really aren't that many options for killer leprechaun movies. Well, there are, but these are the best ones, and they're terrible. So we just have not gotten a good like Irish St. Patrick's Day horror film. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these films to talk about. So let's dive in. Leprechaun, 1993, the first starring vehicle for Jennifer Aniston of Friends fame. This is a low budge film, but pretty fun for what it is. This one is, I think, touted as the best, the best made one. I think it's the one that takes itself most seriously, but what is the Leprechaun's gimmick in this? Every movie has a gimmick. What's his gimmick in this one, Chase?
So this one, well, I was gonna say he's an Irish leprechaun in North Dakota, but
yeah, for starters, there we go. Yeah, they shipped him in.
So this one begins with an elderly couple in rural North Dakota.
Yep.
One of them comes home. You could tell they're kind of working class, kind of struggling. One of them comes home in a nice new suit, cigar, coming home telling his wife they're rich. Turns out he had basically trapped a leprechaun in his suitcase. Took his gold. The leprechaun gets out, kills his wife, and before the man dies of a heart attack, he traps him in a wooden crate and puts a 4-leaf clover on his crate, which is what weakens him. Is that the gimmick, that the 4-leaf clover weakens him?
The shining shoes is the gimmick I was thinking of.
That's right.
Because this leprechaun cannot, if you throw a shoe at him, he has to shine it. And it's like, wait, what? It is the funniest, such a bizarre thing. And they end up like running around with a suitcase full of shoes and just throwing them at him. And he has a rubber. Some cuts, it jumps to a few years later, and a new family has moved into the house. Jennifer Aniston is part of this family. She immediately gets the hots for the handyman who's working there painting the house. He has a very dim-witted sidekick who immediately befriends the little boy, and they accidentally release the leprechaun. Hijinks ensues. It's such a bizarre movie. There's so many choices where you're like, what is the tone of this film? Because sometimes it's very serious, like Gremlins, but then sometimes he's riding around in a tiny little car chasing people while like silly bink bonk happy clown music is playing, and you're
Yeah.
like, I don't know what the tone is meant to be. And they're like, don't worry about it. It's Leprechaun, baby. And you're like, all right. Warwick Davis is a standout in all of these. I think he's one of those roles, like I can't imagine somebody else playing it, and they make us imagine it later. He is such a great presence in these and makes them tolerable because he is funny. He has so much character. He is committing 100% to the bit.
Which it's crazy because if you look at his filmography,
Yeah.
he has such an accomplished filmography. Like he is in some of the biggest franchise. I'm looking right here. He's in some of the biggest franchises of all time. He's in the Harry Potter franchise. He's in Star Wars. He's in Labyrinth with David Bowie. He's in Narnia. He's in Maleficent. Like he at Willow. He has a great
Willow.
filmography, and it's like
Yeah.
Leprechaun.
And well, he's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 8
Yeah.
films. Just, I mean, he's in the new Star Wars film. He's often under a lot of makeup because he plays like a tiny guy. I think in the later Star Wars films, he actually didn't have to wear makeup. They might have just put a little bit, like not as much heavy makeup. He's in
Think
Harry
so.
Potter, but like, I mean, good on him. He made it work for him, and he made his size work for him, and has pulled off like a lot of great roles and had a lot of fun. Oh my God, Leprechaun 6: Back to the Hood came out after the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. He was already doing Harry Potter and was like, I'm going to dip my toe back in this Leprechaun movies one more time. They must have been paying him well at a certain point where they're just like, you're the man, let's do this.
And you got to think like you don't really hear about so many accomplished little people actors. Like I think when people think of accomplished little people actors, they think of Warwick Davis and also Peter Dinklage,
Yeah.
who has won awards and gotten acclaim for of course Game of Thrones and other different stuff. Like I know he was like a villain in one of the X-Men movies, which was really cool.
Really cool. He's great. Yeah. I think the Leprechaun though it's a lot of fun. And he pulls off this ridiculous character very well. This movie, it was funny because they were trying to get sponsorships to help pay for the film, and one of the sponsorships that said yes until they read the script was Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms was actually going to put in a lot of money into this movie, and they then pulled out after reading the script, which is like, why? It's really, compared to what we get later, this is a very tame horror movie. It is. This is like PG-13 level. I don't know what it is actually rated. It might be actually rated R.
It's rated R. So originally it was going to be a PG-13 horror comedy.
Okay.
But the studio wanted a rated R film. So there are a couple scenes of added gore that they did.
That doesn't happen often.
No, because usually you hear the opposite. Like you think of 2 years ago, Megan, which was a big box office hit, which they actually they were eventually released a rated R cut, but all it was like there was a couple scenes where they dropped the F-bomb, and then there was like a couple scenes they cut out with like blood splatter. That was it. Other than that, it's the same movie. But yeah, this is like one of those where they actually added some gore to get the R rating.
So weird. But notoriously, the very last moment of the scenes where our child hero rockets a 4-leaf clover down the Leprechaun's throat with a slingshot, and he says, "Fuck you, Lucky Charms." Awesome. Good one-liner. But
Good one-liner.
It is also a dual meaning because literally Lucky Charms pulled out and screwed them for funding. So getting to say that, pretty funny.
Oh,
I like that.
Awesome. They wrote that in last minute as a little dig.
Now, the weird thing about this whole franchise is the bizarre inconsistencies. And as I mentioned, in this movie, it's all about the shoes, baby. He can't not polish a shoe, which is weird because leprechauns aren't notorious for polishing shoes. That's a gnome thing. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, in this movie, leprechauns like shoes. 1994, a year later, they didn't even wait 5 seconds. They were like, let's pump out another one of these. And now he's afraid of iron. The whole thing
Yeah.
is weird iron. He can make people hallucinate in this one, which is kind of fun. We get it. We get a good moment in this. Leprechaun 2 comes out, and it's more of the same.
It's
Way
not,
more like
but
wacky.
worse.
Yeah, way more wacky, gimmicky cars in this one. Um, this one had like a bigger budget, sort of too, because it like starts in like olden times and then jumps to the future and goes all over the place. It is but it keeps introducing things that make no sense. Like, where did the iron thing come from? I looked it up. I don't know. Like, that's not a standard thing.
Okay, so I want to bring something up. Okay, first of
Yeah.
all, Leprechaun 2 was the last of the Leprechaun films to have been released theatrically. It did so bad that that's why all the other ones, except for the more recent one that came out in 2018, Leprechaun Returns, were all straight to DVD. But Leprechaun Returns didn't even get a theatrical release. It was a straight to sci-fi movie,
Right.
sci-fi channel movie. Okay, here's another thing. I'm trying to remember Leprechaun 2. This is like, to me, the most boring one. But so at the end of Leprechaun 1, he dies because they throw they throw him down the well.
Right.
How was it? How did he get brought back to life in Leprechaun 2? Was this the one where they introduce the amulet thing?
Nope, it's a tree. They find a tree. He comes
Okay.
out of an old Ireland. Okay, a real Irish tree growing at the home of Harriet Houdini. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
It really doesn't make any sense. But they find the gold and he wants to come get it, so he appears and comes and gets it. But
And then it turns out like the main dude's girlfriend looks like, I guess, a woman back
that he
in
was
like
betrothed to. Yeah.
yeah, like, and now he's trying to go for her. Yeah, and then the dude has like a drunk uncle who like does a drinking contest with
The leprechaun. Pretty funny scene. Pretty funny scene. But then so this one did have some creative kills in it. This has one of my favorite kills where two of my favorite kills in the whole franchise. One is where he goes, the drunk uncle's like, okay, I want a wish. I want the gold. And the leprechaun's like, okay, your wish is my command. Boom, the gold appears in his stomach like a pregnant belly and then like spills out of him. It's terribly done, but it's kind of funny. My second favorite kill is, again, the hallucinations that he can create in
is
this.
it the
Lawnmower tits. Hell yeah. I have always said, this is a joke at my other podcast, Launchpad Podcast. If you are a normal Joe, like most of us folks, and a straight 10, like the hottest person you've ever seen is like, ooh, come here, baby, takes their shirt off, takes their pants off, whatever. I've seen enough horror movies to immediately go ghost and not follow them, especially like, how'd this dime get on this spaceship? Like, that's the thing that never makes sense to this. It's like people in movies are like, oh my God, this hot person's want me. How can I say no? Instead of being like, I'm sorry, are you on drugs? Are you okay? Also, how'd you get on this spaceship? Or why are you hiding in this creepy garage? In this moment, this character, this hot lady's like, oh yeah, I want you. And she takes her top off and he's like, oh yeah. And he goes in for some motorboating. And then you see that he's putting his face into a lawnmower and you just see the blades going, tearing him up. And you're like, lawnmower tits. I love it. A hilarious kill in this movie. It's all over the place, but it's so bizarre. So then, there's like they try to do this like living skeleton bit that's kind of Ray Harryhausen, which I give them props for attempting. He has to defeat this like puppet skeleton, freeze his girlfriend, and they try to get out of the cave. And it's how do you make a chase in a maze super boring? Just watch this movie; it teaches you. It's one of those caves that like every corner is the same corner. It's just like reusing footage of them like running around in circles. And then he tricks the leprechaun with chocolate coins because you know how that works.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Then you forget where he uses his hallucination to make the main dude think it's his girlfriend, and like he kisses her, And he's like, "Oh, I got me coin back." And then it turns out it was the chocolate at the end. She was like, "How'd you know it's not me?" Say, "Well, the leprechaun was a bad kisser." So
I love it. Yeah, this one's definitely rough, but they made a third one. And for
this one's fun.
my money, part 3 is my favorite of this franchise next to the one from 2018. Leprechaun.
You want to hear something funny too?
Yeah, hit me.
This one, Leprechaun 3, is that it's actually Warwick Davis's favorite one too.
It is actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's pretty solid for what it is. I mean, we get Caroline Williams in it, obviously awesome from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. She played Stretch in that. This is the one that also is like, oh, by the way, he's rhyming now. And you're like, wait,
Yeah.
Wait, was he rhyming in the first 2 films? And they're like, nope. So why is he rhyming in this movie? They're like, I don't know.
This is the one too where they introduce the medallion.
The amulet.
It opens up with this man on crutches with a missing leg all bandaged up. It's like, here, he goes to a pawn shop. Here, take it. Just don't take off the medallion. The pawn shop owner immediately takes off the medallion.
Yep. Immediately takes off the medallion, and the leprechaun comes to light. He was a statue. Again, he didn't end a statue in the last film. He exploded. None of these movies start and end in the same fashion of how the leprechaun was like frozen. There's no continuity. It doesn't, they're like, we don't care. It does not matter for the sake of this movie.
We don't care. It has leprechaun in it. You're going to see this shit anyway.
You're going to see this shit. It's also funny because to me, this is like the Showgirls of Leprechaun films. It's like in Vegas. It's about the rise of this kid who's just trying to make it in Vegas. This college student shows up. He picks up a woman whose car is broken down, which is the beginning of Showgirls. And she's like, I got to go to the casino. And he takes her there and then is like, I want to go inside. And she's like, you're too young. And also don't waste your money. Don't be an idiot. And he goes inside and has all his college money and starts losing it. And you're like, oh no, this kid's an idiot. And then he goes across to the pawn shop to pawn his like grandfather's watch or something.
Yeah.
Finds the dead pawn shop owner and starts getting attacked by the leprechaun.
But he grabs one of the gold coins though.
Yes.
And that magically takes him back to the casino. And he's like, I really wish I could win like my money back. And he just starts going on a winning spree and even like going past the casino's cheating system.
Yeah.
And he's just making money.
And this establishes that the gold coins can grant wishes. They kind of do that in other movies, but it's like a per coin basis.
Right.
Again, the lore is all over the place. Per coin basis, he whips this shit out and is like, makes a wish, and they and things happen. He goes back to the casino. He's on Wayne Street. One of my favorite moments is the pawn shop owner, when researching leprechauns, like pops in a CD-ROM, and it's like old school like Encyclopedia Britannica ROM, and oh my god, it's a terrible little animation that explains
like
leprechauns.
Animations.
Yes, and it explains the animations. It explains the animation explains leprechauns, but also introduces lore to the leprechaun that isn't not only not true, but unestablished to the franchise. So you're just like, all right, whatever.
Then it establishes that a leprechaun loves potatoes. So there's a scene where the leprechaun bites the college student, and I guess like the college student like stabs him in the head with a knife, and his blood starts mixing in with his wound, and he starts transforming the college student into a leprechaun.
Starts turning into a leprechaun.
He goes to the casino restaurant and just starts ordering like all these potato dishes.
It is hilarious. Also, him as a leprechaun is terrible. It's like they're like, how does somebody transform into a leprechaun? We can't afford to make this guy any shorter. So they just start putting mutton chops on him, and he starts talking like an idiot in rhymes, in terrible rhymes. The whole time the leprechaun's popping up and terrorizing people. the girl that he helped out, she's a magician's assistant. The magician's assistant and the woman who ran the card table, played by Carolyn Williams, they figure out that the coin grants wishes, and now everybody wants the coin. The casino owner wants the coin. The magician wants the coin. The card dealer wants the coin. And we get these great vignettes of them getting their hands on this hot potato. Pun intended.
Oh, my favorite one is the one with Caroline Williams as the card dealer.
Yeah.
Because again, like she wants to move up and kind of be like the centerpiece of like, you know, the entertainment part of the casino, but they're like, oh, you're too old. You're too old. So she wishes to be younger looking. And she comes out with a new dress, kind of looking curvier and everything. This to me has my favorite kill out of this entire franchise.
This has some good ones. Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, you want the parts to be pumped up. He starts blowing up like her like lips, her chest, her hips, her butt, and then finally she just explodes. Oh my god, it's such an awesome. I'm understating it. Like you have to see it for yourself.
What does she say? So he runs into her and she says, "Who the hell are you?" He says, "I'm a leprechaun, lass, and I'm going to make you pay." And she says, "What do you want?" And he says, "Your boobs are big, your butt is small, but still you're in for quite a fall." "What are you talking about?" "Oh, well, didn't you hear? Bigger is good, but jumbo is dear. I'll give you boobs that'll come out to here." Snaps his fingers and she just starts inflating. Her lips are inflating, her butt's inflating. She turns into this giant, like ridiculous plastic monstrosity and then just explodes. I love when he goes to the casino manager, and this is one of those movies that like you're like, is this the one where the guy like fucks a robot? And you're like,
Yes,
no, I'm thinking of a completely different movie. And it always surprises me. The casino owner, who's a total sleazeball, slimeball piece of shit, he tries to seduce the magician's assistant because he's a jerk. With the coin, and she leaves him, and he's like, "Man, I wish I had a hot chick like that." And this woman crawls out of the television, and he's like, again, instead of being like ghost and getting the hell out of there, he's like, "Oh yeah, all right." And they start getting it on, and then she turns into a robot, and it's freaking great. And then on the TV, the leprechaun's like, like laughing and taunting him, and then he gets electrocuted, banging a robot. Freaking great. That is a great kill. The magician is a good kill too.
Oh yeah.
The magician wants to be, to quote Jafar, an all-powerful sorcerer. And he ends up in the cut him in half box, and the leprechaun saws him in half in front of a packed audience with a real chainsaw. Choice.
Oh yeah. The best part is like the audience are thinking it's the trick, but once the blood starts shooting out and he pulls apart the box and the guy's intestines and guts start falling out, then they realize, oh shit, he actually cut this dude in half.
Yeah. I love magician. I love magic. I'm a big fan. I can do a few tricks myself. It's such a fun art. And one of my favorite pieces about it is, oh, look here. And see, then it doesn't work. And the funniest thing is when the magicians can't do it right and they're like trying to figure it out. And then you go, oh, magic. And then they finally end the trick. When you see like the Today Show and the guy's like, there's a knife in one of these bags and I keep popping down the bags and he stabs himself through the hands. It's having to pretend that your trick didn't fuck up in front of a whole bunch of people. And like, that is such an art. And he's sitting there like bleeding profusely. He's like, for my next trick. And they're like, you're going to the hospital. He's like, oh no, it's part of the trick. It's all part of it.
Corn syrup.
Yeah, it's all fake. just bleeding from his hands. But yeah, magic's super fun. So I love it when like a trick messes up and you get to watch them like still muddle their way through it. In LA, there's an amazing place called the Magic Castle, which you have to know a magician to get into. And for my birthday, that was a thing my friends would always do for me, is take me to the Magic Castle, because the first time they took me, a magician literally came off the stage and was like, "It's more fun to watch you watch this show than it is to do the show." Because I'm the guy in the front row going, "No fucking way, no fucking way!" Oh, like losing my shit. And like they know that they got a little excited squid in the room, and you're sitting in there, and the place is fucking magic. A painting opened up like a door, and there was a guy, and he goes, "Hey, you guys want to see some magic?" And we were like, "Whoa, creepy, cool, let's go." You go inside, it takes you through this little secret hallway, and then you're in a tiny dark room, and he started doing this close-up magic. It's so fucking cool. And he did all these coin tricks, he did all these card tricks, and then like there was a coin that somebody put their initials on, and the coin kept appearing. And then he took the deck of cards, and we're like feet from him. He took the deck of cards, he put the coin on top, and started burning a hole through the cards, like literally melting through the cards. And it stopped, and he pulled it off. It was still their coin with the initial on it, melted. And then all the cards that we had chosen through the night that had initials and rips and tears were underneath that where it had stopped. And it was just like, so fucking cool. Yeah, I'll talk about magic all night long. But yeah, this movie's great. It ends, the guy reverses the curse by watching the CD-ROM. Terrible. And you get, this one has like, I think, the best mix of the humor. Like, it's hard to find the tone of what these movies are, and this one actually did pretty good.
Yeah, this one was just like, they were like, yeah, this is a straight up horror comedy. Because the first two, the tone's kind of all over the place. It's like
all over the place.
One scene they're taking it super serious. The next scene it's like, oh, a little joke. But this one is just campy and over the top and ridiculous and silly the entire runtime. And that's why I think this one is probably among the strongest ones.
Yeah. There might be a malfunction today in the chat topics. We haven't seen anybody in there. So if you're trying to say something to us and we're not seeing it, I blame StreamYard. It's unfortunate that 3 was so strong because 4 is so weak. Leprechaun in space. Normally, I love a movie in space. I am all for this. This movie couldn't save itself, even in its space station glory. This is a rough one.
Oh my God, it's terrible. It's so bad.
It is so low budget, and they don't know what to do with that low budget. And it's like it has so many ideas, but it could not account for how low its budget was. For instance, there's a moment where he like pulls out a lightsaber and he's like, zoom, zoom. But then they don't have the money to show him kill anybody with it. So they just cut away and the people fall to the ground. It's like they had enough to put it on screen once, but not enough to show it twice. And that is so weird. There's it's terrible.
I think Dead Meat James said it best about this movie, the way he described it.
Yeah.
It's basically a ripoff of Aliens, but with a leprechaun instead of xenomorphs.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. Everybody's unlikable. Like, that's another problem. Like, the Space Marines are like not enjoyable. They're trying. They're damnedest. They're trying to be like the funny Space Marines, and have like quips and shit, but it's terrible. They're not. They're just like cringy as hell. There's a moment where he turns giant and smashes through the space station, and I give them props for pulling that effect off or even attempting it, but he does nothing with that scene. He's just big and smashes some things.
He looks like a stretched JPEG.
He
looks like it's like it doesn't even look like he's actually big. It just looks like he's a stretched JPEG because he looks blurry and kind of shitty.
Well, and then a big part of that is like when you're going to do miniatures and you're going to do like forced perspective or anything like that, you need the right lenses, and they didn't do any of that. There's like a rubber monster at one point that is kind of fun, but like most of it is just a big whiff, miss. And oh man, this one's a rough one to watch because I want to like it. I want it to succeed because, yay, low budget. I mean, I still like Warwick Davis. I think he's great, but this movie is so rough to get through. And again, it presents so many interesting ideas that it can't pull off. It almost makes it worse. Because like that's the thing when it works against you is like, I know what you're going for, and I like that. But you can't even pull it off. So now it just makes me angry that you couldn't figure that out. Because I was like, yeah, that would have been a good idea, but bleh.
The thing is, when I hear, because the joke is when a horror franchise gets bad, you shoot them into space.
Yep.
Usually, I'm all for it. Like
all for it.
Yeah, Jason X, love Jason X. Hellraiser 4 Bloodline. It's not a good movie, but I have fun watching it. What are some other horror franchises that have gone into space?
Well, you said Bloodlines. You said that one. Jason X. James Bond went to space. Moonraker. Terrible. Those are the ones off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, usually I'm all for it. It's fun. They usually kind of realize, okay, our franchise is so ridiculous at this point, we got to make it silly. It's just like when I saw Leprechaun 4 in space, I was like, this could be a lot of fun. This could probably be the best in the franchise. Then you press play and
yeah, no, it really is. It really has all that potential, and like they're trying. Like there's some cool like makeup ideas and like, but there's no moody atmosphere. They do nothing to like, there's no craft to it. It's all just like, even this awesome bug monster, that's cool. They do nothing with it. And it's like, there's no payoff. There's no payoff for all the good that it puts into it. And it just becomes like pretty weak. And it's also just shot bright as day when it's like, let's get moody with it. That will help some of your effects be like less shitty.
Now go back a few of them. I'll tell you when to stop, because there's actually a guy who was in a different horror franchise that went to space. You go back a few more. Keep going. One more. Yep, him. Okay. He was in Friday the 13th, part 5. He was the damage lattes. That guy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, ooh baby.
Ooh baby.
Yeah, the diarrhea duet. I love this guy. Oh, my brother Demon. Yes. Oh, that's great. I love that you recognize him. I didn't recognize him without the Michael Jackson 80s hair and Michael Jackson jacket.
No, now he's in a very 90s marine outfit.
Oh my god.
Movie marine outfit. But yeah, this one, the way Leprechaun dies is they open the doors and suck him into space.
Yeah.
Which they do an even more horrible expanding effect.
Yeah. Oh, shitty, really bad CGI. Space Babe. But even that like looks like carnival, like
It looks like carnival face paint.
Carnival face paint, yeah.
It looks like it looks like you'd go to like the town fair, and there's probably like some woman in a clown outfit with like, get your face paint, and she paints the like, what do you want? Oh, you want a tiger, and she'll just draw tiger. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Of makeup. Yeah.
Here's the bar on the space station, which, oh my god, like they spent a lot of money building this big room into the bar. It does not need to be that big. There's not enough people in the movie to fill this room. This guy tries to pee on the leprechaun's corpse, and it zaps him.
Oh, is that the one where the leprechaun comes out his
penis? zaps into his dick and then ends up controlling him for a little bit. Again, it doesn't make any sense. We have never established that he has Dreamcatcher powers. No. Awful 90s CGI. All this again, all of this has like, oh my god. Yeah, that's some of the CGI right there.
It's like PlayStation 1.
Yeah, big time.
Oh my god.
It's such a misfire, and it makes me sad because Leprechaun 4 could have been the best in the series, but no, we're going to save the best of the series for the 5th film. It's very rare that the 3rd film to me is the best in the series. The 5th film, though, is one that I actually really like because it's so wrong on so many levels. This is Leprechaun 5
in the Hood, starring Ice-T.
Yes. It is. It's unbelievable. This is a movie, but for being unbelievable and being wrong on so many levels and tasteless in so many levels, it's actually a really really entertaining movie. It is. At this point, 4 beat you down so much that you're just like, I accept it. Whatever Leprechaun wants to do to me, here I am. Do what you want with me, franchise. And it's like, let's go to the hood. And this one, he sometimes rhymes, but now he has a magic flute.
Yeah, but they do go back to the statue and the medallion.
Yep. Yeah, we got the statue and the medallion.
But the timeline's all fucked because so Leprechaun 3, which came out in 95, he's wearing the medallion and he's encased in stone. Where this one, it establishes that Ice-T in the 70s. And the thing is, what I love about this, they give Ice-T, like, of course, have you seen a lot of the like Pam Grier blaxploitation films?
I love that stuff, man. Bird in
Where
the
they
Cage
give
and all
like
that stuff.
where like the gangsters in that movie all have like the really huge afros and they wear like these like brightly colored suits with like the pantsuit, like the pants on the suit are like kind of bell bottomed, where
Yep.
it's like really high expanded. They
I mean,
give
it's
Ice-T
Dolomite, man. Yeah, he's the Dolomite look.
yeah, they give Ice-T that look, and they establish that he managed to throw the medallion on Leprechaun in the 70s, and he's been encased in stone ever since. I guess they forgot about that one time in 1995 where he was encased in stone.
I know. Yeah, they totally ruined the timeline. But nothing says hard like a little flute. And he steals this little flute and it makes him like rich and famous, like a rich and famous rapper. And it's so weird. Oh yeah, we definitely get a Mulan drag scene in this movie. It's wild, but I actually really like how ridiculous it is. Of course, he smokes weed. There's this whole plot about people trying to cut their weed with clovers to make it like heavier, and that's ridiculous because, of course, the leprechaun is in the first movie it kills him. In this movie, it just makes him pass out.
Yeah.
Completely inconsistent. Ice-T, man, how does he end up in this movie? Did he owe somebody a favor? Like, I have no idea. He was already doing
Law and Order
Law and
SVU.
Order, so it wasn't for the money.
No.
Oh my god.
He was doing Law and Order, but yeah, this one, it follows 3 up and coming rappers who want to kind of enter this rap contest in Las Vegas. And I think the prize is you get a record contract if you win.
Sure.
And yeah, sure. It's a Leprechaun movie. Don't think too hard about it. So, but their speakers blow out, so they go rob Ice-T.
Yep.
And they find his flute, and it turns out the flute puts people under his trance, where people think, "Oh, he's actually a good rapper." His raps aren't very good.
That's why we get the zombie fly honeys from, as he calls them, the zombie fly girls. Oh my god, it's so cringe. I love it. It's the flute can possess people into thinking you're awesome at whatever you do. Their rap names are so funny. Postmaster P, hard as fuck. Stray Bullet, that one's legit, and then Butch. All right.
Pretty good.
Mac Daddy is Ice-T, which is like the laziest gangster name possible for this whole thing. It's like, what? And of course, directed by the whitest looking guy I've ever seen. There you go. I just had to look it up. He's known for Criminal Minds, Supernatural. Okay, so he did move on to do things.
Directed the widest shows ever.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least he wasn't stuck doing Leprechaun films.
Which, after this comes out, we get another Leprechaun in the Hood movie 3 years later. Ooh, okay. We'll wait for Aaron to come back. So yeah, and if you have any questions until Aaron gets back, okay.
I don't know why I did that. I tried to hit back on the screen that I'm streaming, but hit back on the screen that I'm streaming from.
um, yeah, so 3 years later, we get another Leprechaun in the Hood movie, Back to the Hood. And
They
this
were like,
one,
that was such a deep well. Let's go back.
yeah, and the thing is, it has nothing to do with the first In the Hood movie. Like,
No,
and it, no,
not even the same
nothing.
characters.
No, different characters, even different lore. Like this one, a lot of like Leprechaun's limericks and stuff are gone. Like, he doesn't
There's
really
no
do it.
flute.
There's no flute. It's basically he gets encased, I think, in cement
Yep.
or something. I think it is.
Yep.
And yeah, like in this failed youth center that had broken ground, but never came to be because they lost fundings. It follows these 4 people. I think they're in Compton who are trying to make a better life for themselves, but of course, life keeps bringing them down with different financial and other troubles. And they happen to find the leprechaun's gold.
Yep.
And
He gives them wishes.
We forgot to mention Back to the Hood is the final one of Warwick Davis as Leprechaun,
Mm-hmm.
which is sad. And he also has a new look. Like it's his last one, and he has a brand new look because the other ones he has like this kind of green suit. Actually, I have a Funko Pop. This is like, I don't, let me go grab so I can kind of do a visualization.
Oh my God. They'll make a Funko Pop of anything. It's like if there's a different version of it, Funko Pop dies. You get the Predator Heat Vision, Invisible Predator. It doesn't matter. They'll make a Funko of it.
Yeah. I used to collect them. I don't anymore, but so this is what Leprechaun looked like basically from 1 to In the Hood.
Yeah.
Purple pants, green suit, where this one they give him a new look. He has like a new kind of more menacing, long, dark, like forest green trench coat.
Oh
Like
yeah, look at it.
He looks cool.
Oh man, he still has a horrible skin routine. I will say that.
I'm gonna put Leprechaun right here, back beside me. Yeah, so this one, and then this one, it's where these people are using the gold to kind of like pay for college or wait, we're pulling it up. Yep, there he is. He has a more menacing, kind of more grungy look here.
Yeah, I don't mind it. That's not a great picture.
I think it looks good, actually.
Yeah, it's a good look. I like it. I think he's always had the hat, but like the hat looked better in this go round.
Yeah,
man.
it looks like it looks like it came out of like the 1300s.
Oh man, this movie, it's not as bad as Leprechaun 4. I will say that, and I think it's better than Leprechaun 2. But it, sometimes it does, like, it's one of those things you're like, I can't tell. I can't tell if I'm allowed to laugh at it or not.
Yeah.
You're like, is it funny or is it super cringe? Is it vaguely racist? I don't know. I can't tell. The movie is even bad at that if that's what it's trying to do. So you're like, huh, what is going on here? But again, I mean, as long as their check's cleared, I don't care. But yeah, he's back in the hood doing weird shit, killing people, ripping their gold teeth out, smoking weed with a dog. This has one of my favorite line in this movie is, "No, dog, this here's my bud." And like they're like pit bulls, like watching them smoke weed, and they won't give the dog any, and the dog wants to smoke. But then the leprechaun's smoking bongs and ripping buds and
ripping legs
off. Yeah, it's not great. But there we go. We'll leave that up right there.
Here's one thing I will say about the 2 Leprechaun in the Hood movies, Leprechaun in the Hood and Leprechaun Back to the Hood. I will say they have the most well-rounded characters out of any of the Leprechaun movies, where the other ones, they're poorly written. They're just there to kind of add to the plot because we all know Leprechaun is the star of the show. Yep. The 2 In the Hood movies, the characters are very well rounded. They make you care about them, so that way when one of the main characters die, it has a little bit more of a emotional impact as opposed to, oh, Leprechaun just killed another person.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what get well rounded, and they're surprisingly decently acted for the most part. I
For
think
what
they,
they're trying to do, yeah,
yeah,
I think they're pulling it off. I agree that the characters are more likable. I mean, since the third one I think also has, I don't know if I'd say they're likable, but they're like has
they have
characters that at least have drive. You know, you
right.
understand who they are beyond the clothes that they wear. And that's something that always comes up about character. Like when you say describe a character to me, if you can describe something about their personality beyond what they wear and what their job is. So like the this argument always comes up with Star Wars. Describe Han Solo to me. He's a greedy scoundrel. He thinks about himself. He is a pilot, blah 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 blah. You know a lot about his character. But then when you go to one of the later films and you're like, who is Qui-Gon Jinn? And it's like, oh, he's a Jedi Master. And it's like, and um, he wants to find a kid who does stuff. Yeah, but that's just the plot. Who is he? What is his? He's a teacher. Again, that's his job. What are his like? There's such shallow characters that we never build upon, which is always a sign of like a weird character. And these movies do tell you more about them, almost too much. You're like, for what this movie is, I don't need to know this much about them, but they are likable characters. And you know, I think the first Back to the Hood is actually pretty funny for what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Whether
yeah.
that is actually funny or cringe funny, you know, you laugh watching it.
Yeah, and I think both of the In the Hood movies, I think they're both well acted. That you could tell the writers put whatever they were allowed as much care into these characters, these main protagonists, as much as possible. So that
Mhm.
way, when they do die, they're not just bodies. You know, how many Friday the 13th characters do we remember outside of like Tommy Jarvis
Yeah,
or a
right.
couple others like or Jenny or most of them it's just it's the one that Jason shot a harpoon through his crotch. Like
Yeah. Um, oh, what's his name? Shelly. I mean, that like the annoying ones. You remember them a little bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, tell me one thing about Shelly other than his job. It's like I don't even know his job. I know he's an annoying piece of shit. Though. The main actor in Back to the Hood, his name is Page Kennedy, is actually pretty funny. I think he ended up being
Yeah.
in the Meg movies, which good for you.
Oh, nice. Good
That's
for
fun.
him.
In both of them, he survived one Meg movie and made it into the other one. I don't know if he dies in the second one. We'll find out.
Oh, I haven't
Um,
seen either one of them.
oh, the first one's. I mean, I love shark movies. The first one's a lot of fun. The second one, I was like, we don't need more of these, but they're like, yeah, we do.
Jason Statham needs a paycheck.
Yeah. Um, my watch just told me it's the Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March, folks. Famously, a day of bad luck, especially if you're a Roman oligarch. Get stabbed by your friends. Too brute. Um, so yeah, then the franchise died for a little bit. But Leprechaun can't stay dead. So then they came out with this movie called Leprechaun Origins.
Which here's the thing.
Woof.
So, oh yeah, it's really bad. So this was produced. So of course it was a partnership deal between Lionsgate, yes, that Lionsgate who did Saw and John Wick and Hunger Games,
Mm-hmm.
and WWE Studios.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That WWE, the wrestling company. So this was during their kind of somewhat failed venture of when they were like, "Oh, we're not just a wrestling company. We're going to produce movies and we're going to have our wrestlers either be the star in it or have a small role in it." And this was one of those ventures. Eventually, them making original movies ended up dying off. Now, basically, WWE Studios just produce documentaries about their wrestlers or reality shows, kind of behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, so this was one starring their wrestler,
Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle, Dylan Postal,
Yeah.
who he is I think the term's micro wrestler. I think that's what it's called. Um, he's an actor with dwarfism, and his gimmick is a leprechaun. And so when this was announced, people were like, "This is perfect. Like just have him wear his wrestling outfit that he wrestles in, because it was just a little leprechaun suit, and just put some makeup on him. No, they didn't do that.
No.
No, it's like a weird kind of albino creature that they
They
made.
they make it a very creepy like monster thing, which completely unnecessary. Um it's one of those things like if you had just called this something else, it might not have been as like poorly received.
I
It's
mean, it
not
still would have
good.
been bad, but
Yeah, it's not good. It's a big problem of it. It's also like it's of this era the worst shaky cam. Like when people are just like, oh, that was really popular during this era, and they do a lot of that. It's also like trying to be super gritty, but like
and serious. This is like, because that's the thing. When you hear Leprechaun, you expect a
there's the
yeah,
best image you get of this thing. This is
yeah.
this is as good as it gets.
You don't get a good shot of it. And the thing is, if you can pull up a picture of Hornswoggle, like
Okay.
all they had to do was get him in his wrestling outfit, and just put a little bit of that kind of gritty. There you go. That first one, him in the box. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's all you had to do was get him in his wrestling outfit, put some makeup on his face, bam, you got a Leprechaun movie. But it reminded me of, you've seen the movie, the British horror film The Descent, about the
Love it.
women that go cave diving.
Love that movie. This is absolutely a
That-
descent monster.
yeah, that looks like a poor attempt at a descent monster.
I mean, The Descent is one of the best horror films of the 2000s. This guy's in it. He's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he's in Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah. He's the stoner guy, right?
Yeah. No. He is the I think the asylum mate of Jason Ritter's character.
You're right. He's the buddy. Yeah. He's in a lot of good stuff actually. I like him as an actor because he's in Violent Night. He plays Krampus in that. He's in The Revenant,
Yep.
Freddy versus Jason. Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff. Fargo. Yeah. Gun World Clerk. Great. He's in Last of Us. Nice.
And Leprechaun Origins.
And Leprechaun. Hey, you got to start somewhere. Siren, not a bad movie. He's in Arrow too. All right. As two different characters, Stanley Dover and Stanley. Well, I guess it's the same character. Anyway, yeah, it's a movie that I don't know. I don't know why it is in the same universe if it's going to be so far off from any. And again, they were like, "What lore? There's no lore. There's no consistency. We can do whatever you want." And you're like, I don't not disagree with you, but you did whatever you want in a direction that absolutely made no sense. If he was just even remotely similar to all the other Leprechaun movies that we had seen in look or style, it probably would have been fine. It's a back to basics, chase him down, but most of the movie is them running and screaming and shooting at things that aren't there. There's not enough payoff in Leprechaun action. And
and you get the knockoff Predator vision where you get the POV of the Leprechaun and it's just a gold like blurry filter, kind of like the Predator's heat vision, except this, instead of like it being blue and reds and oranges and yellows, it's just gold vision.
oh my god, it's really bad and a bummer too because it has the cast isn't terrible. It actually has a decent enough cast to pull off what you're doing. It feels like it's desperately trying to be like the Michael Bay remake era Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th. Like it's that level of like slick and polished produced,
dark, gritty, serious,
but it just doesn't go anywhere. And
no,
if people are running and screaming but without any rhyme or reason, it just it's boring.
It makes no sense.
That's the saddest part.
Yeah,
but they made up for it years later. Sci-Fi Channel
4 years later.
Yeah.
Yep, and we get basically a requel, which was kind of around the requel craze because around that time, of course, we got the Star Wars requel trilogy, which was coming around that time. I think either right before or right after this, it was the Halloween David Gordon Green trilogy. Halloween 2018 came out, but yeah, this was a requel. So this one basically is back to basics. It ignores every single Leprechaun
I got a
film.
limerick for it. You want to hear it?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
There once was a movie that didn't earn, but 7 sequels then got a turn. Ignore the last 6, throw them in a ditch. Just watch Leprechaun Returns.
Very good.
Oh,
Very
yes.
good.
This movie is a banger. I hats off to this movie. I have notes, but if you're going to take the first film and this film, they are perfect sequels to each other. We get the return of Ozzy, which is fantastic. He's a great character from the first film. He's the guy who swallowed a coin. They do their best to really bring it back, and it has some solid kills. It keeps you guessing. It does some fun stuff. It's a little derivative of Army of Darkness, which I'm not mad at that. I enjoy that kind of goof stuff. I think it nails the comedy better than almost any of the other ones ever did, because it knows what it wants to do. We do not get Warwick Davis back, which is a knock against it, but the guy who took over,
Lyndon Porco, I think his name is. Yeah, he's great. I mean, he's no Warwick Davis, but you know what? If you're not going to get Warwick Davis, I thought he did a phenomenal job with what he was given.
Yeah. And for the budget that it has, which is obviously pretty low, they do a solid job with what they have. Yeah. There's a great scene where there's these tiny little leprechauns all over the place, like I said, doing the Army of Darkness thing, and it's pretty funny. Like they do a decent enough job. I believe the tiny leprechauns better than I believe the giant leprechaun in space.
Yeah. And you know, this has, again, for a Sci-Fi Channel original movie, it has some good gore too.
Yeah.
Like really good gore.
He explodes out of Ozzy's stomach, which is a great moment. It's cool to see that character back. We pretend that Jennifer Aniston's daughter is in this movie. Jennifer Aniston is not in this movie. Her quote unquote voice is, but it's not her.
Yeah, it's comedian Heather McDonald.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's, which I know my mom here that she's a huge fan of hers. Yeah, she does the voice of Jennifer Aniston's character.
Oh, that's like a vision. Funny.
Yeah. But yeah, they revealed that Tori had, after the first one, suffered from kind of PTSD from her incident with the leprechaun, and then eventually died from cancer. So her daughter goes to this college that has been built in that small town in North Dakota. She's joining a sorority, and it just so happens the sorority house is in the original house from the first one,
which is ridiculous. But hey, you got us here. The well is there. All of it. They do a great job setting it up to be tied to the original. Really fun. I think it has spectacular kills, like we said. The kills are really there and worth it, and I think the characters are good enough. The sorority chicks are a little annoying because they're so mean. They're like that bitch for no reason. And I'm not one to complain about a movie's level of nudity, but they keep teasing you in this movie. They're like, "Oh, are we going to see something or not?" And it's like, it's a sci-fi movie. I know you're not going to do that. So just don't tease if you're not going to pay off. If you're not going to pay off in a movie, it's not not worth the time. It's like a sci-fi movie, but they keep doing this where they're like, and you're like, no, they're not going to do it. And like, why are you even doing this movie? Like, it's like, obviously it's not going to happen.
We show, but Comcast are going to get mad at us.
I know, exactly. It's like, it's kind of a weird choice to make, especially when you knew that it was going straight to sci-fi. Like, oh my God, are we going to see nudity? It's like, it's 9:30 on sci-fi, which has never ever shown nudity. So no.
That's the thing too. Like sci-fi, depending on what it is, they do allow some gore. Because I remember when Chucky was airing on there, like they allow gore on Chucky. Like that show was gory as fuck.
Dude, when that lady fell into the open dishwasher full of knives.
Yeah.
Yes.
For season 2, where the woman gets cut in half with a chainsaw, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also allow some cursing because Chucky said fucking shit a few times in his season. I think it just depends.
I think they started relaxing after a while because AMC we weren't allowed to say fuck, and then by the end of Walking Dead, they're like, "Yeah, you get one fucking episode," and Jeffrey G. Morgan was like, "Fuck yeah!" And now he would use them up, and they would the actors would like throw him in there, ad lib curse words just to see who could get it on TV. It was really funny.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of, I think they notice like those shows have like an adult audience. It's probably airing at 10 o'clock at night, because FX started doing that with American Horror Story too, where they started letting them say, oh yeah. And I think American Horror Story, I think depending on what type of nudity is, because I know they'll show ass on American Horror Story, but yeah,
boy, do they. Oh man, yeah.
A lot of ass.
Yeah, Hotel had some pretty graphic stuff in it as well. There was a demon scene that was really graphic.
Yeah.
Good for them. But yeah, Leprechaun Origins, Leprechaun Returns. The makeup in this also is the first time it's ever really made sense. Usually it just looks like he looks like a leper, like his skin's falling off or is like super flaky. In this, to me, he actually looks like a creature, like somebody. It wasn't just liquid latex on top of somebody's face. This was like an actual design of a leprechaun, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's the Leprechaun. Super fun. Yeah, I would watch the first one and this one if you just want a nice dose of Leprechaun. Maybe the third one if you're feeling particularly masochistic. But after that, you have to be a real diehard to go from there.
Oh yeah, and this one actually, Leprechaun Returns, is my favorite one out of the franchise.
I wouldn't argue that. I actually think. I wish it was Warwick Davis. I really do. And nothing against the guy who did this. It's just because Warwick Davis did so much with this character, to see him do a really good job would have been cool.
Oh yeah, and I think Warwick Davis isn't interested in doing another Leprechaun.
Yeah, I think he said he was tired. He's like, I don't want to put on all that makeup. I'm tired of it.
Right. And I think he kind of wants to do more family friendly stuff now.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to be under like 9 pounds of makeup. He's like,
yeah, which understandable. But yeah, I mean, I think they did the best job without getting, since they couldn't get the lead star, they're like, we'll find someone who's almost as good. And, I thought the guy did a fantastic job for what he did.
So at least here it says he turned it down. So at least it was his option, and if he's like, I'm not into that anymore, great. Cape Town, South Africa. Oh man, I wouldn't have told you that.
Wait, that's where they shot it?
Yeah, Cape Town, South Africa.
Wow. I wouldn't have known, honestly.
Jennifer Aniston was never contacted to be in any of the sequels.
Well, yeah, she has like publicly disowned. Like she does not like talking about the first Leprechaun movie.
Well, fuck you. Yeah,
I think she's kind of lightly came around to it in recent years, but before she would refuse to talk about it.
I get it when like horror was kind of a stain on people, like, oh, I had to do a horror movie, but now like I don't know, horror and camp has come around. It's
oh yeah, you got Oscar winners doing horror. I mean, you just had a woman get nominated for a horror film at the Oscars.
Yeah,
which was awesome.
Horror won big at the Oscars this year. I give them credit. I mean, I'm super sad that Demi didn't win, but it was kind of that like poetic justice in the sense that it proved the point of the movie for her to lose. It was like exactly the point of the movie. So I am disappointed, but at least it makes the story almost more poignant to like if you're watching it, like, oh my God, she's so good. Who won the Oscar this year? And like some younger dark-haired version of her, and they're like, no fucking way.
Which is funny because the one that won the Oscar, was a ghost face in Scream 5.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? So technically, horror still won.
Yeah. Oscar winner Mikey Madsen as Ghostface.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
First Ghostface to ever win an Oscar. So hey, we can spin it into a positive here.
You know what? I like that. All right, man. Well, we made it through the.
We did.
This wasn't nearly as painful as I thought it was going to be. These movies are rough to do homework for. Please make more St. Patrick's Day horror, it doesn't have to be a leprechaun. There's banshees. There's lots of Irish lore you could dip into. I mean, even just a good leprechaun movie, I'll take. But like we have so many leprechaun films and leprechaun knockoff movies, and most of them are so bad. But like we could really get like Darby O'Gill and the Little People. You watch that movie, it is borderline horror because you think about the power and the trickster nature of it. It could be absolutely terrifying if you did it right. But again, banshees are scary. There's lots of scary Irish lore that you could dip into that we just do not get enough of in the world of horror. So
Yes,
St. Patrick's Day.
Studios, give us more Irish St. Patrick's Day folklore horror and more Thanksgiving themed horror. We need more of those.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I love holiday horror. Christmas horror is one of my favorite subgenres. But yeah, we need more St. Patrick's Day horror that isn't just a mediocre leprechaun movie. Because literally, I keep coming back to these because there is not much more to go on.
No. Last year for St. Patrick's Day, like me and my partner were looking for something to watch, like horror. Like usually when there's a horror, there's a holiday, one of our things is we like to do is we usually watch like a regular themed movie. Like, of course, Christmas time, we watch Home Alone, and then we'll watch Silent Night, Deadly Night. So like St. Patrick's Day, we were looking like really looking for like an Irish folklore themed movie. There was nothing. And so we were just like, all right, I guess Leprechaun.
Grabbers is not necessarily St. Patrick's Day, but it's Irish. Grabbers is really fun. A good little alien Irish horror comedy. But yeah, most of these movies are absolutely terrible. Womp womp. Crawlers is also not terrible. Kind of freaky, but that one has a little bit of an Irish thing to it as well. Plugs. Let's plug it. Let's plug the stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. This was fun. So first of all, you can see me every Saturday on here on Half Hour Horror with you, Aaron. You can follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Oh Hey It's Chase. Speaking of Letterboxd, after the show's done, I'm gonna go on X underneath the video where we do air live, and you can watch the replay if you happen to miss some of us. On and also on YouTube, but on X, I'm going to comment the Letterboxd list of the movies we talked about, which was just all 8 leprechauns. And you can follow me on TikTok at o.hey.it's.chase. I'm trying to build a following up there. So yeah, let's do it.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, hit me up. I'm McLean on Abel. I'm McLean and Abel on Instagram. And then my other podcast, which is a bi-weekly podcast, the Launchpad podcast. We did a massive Leprechaun series. And we did a whole thing about the Leprechaun Returns. In our Leprechaun Time Travel Disaster series, we destroyed the time continuum, where in a different universe the Leprechaun was a wonderful film that brought peace to nations, but we somehow screwed it up with our time travel adventure. So listen to us try to right the wrongs of time travel adventures, and we make up a rhyme for every one of the films, which is pretty hysterical. So check that out. That's in the archives. And then this week we just released one talking about those ridiculous sequel names like Electric Boogaloo and the New Batch. We talk about that, which is always super funny. So check us out there. And then, of course, Block of Horror, guys. Head out to the Discord. Follow everything on all socials. Block of Horror. Get into the community talking about horror with everything. So fun. We need to give away some blood coin.
That's
yeah,
right.
man. Let's see. What should the code be?
Leprechaun or just LEP, LEP.
LEP. It's that easy. Lep in the Hood, up to no good. Oh my God. The end of Leprechaun in the Hood, the first one, when he goes into this rap about being a shitty leprechaun. It's so bad.
It's so bad, but it's hilarious. It's amazing.
Oh my God, it is amazing. I mean, it is amazing. So yeah, go to the Discord, open up a ticket, type in the word LEP, LEP, and get you some blood coin. Until next time, you know what? I'm going to look it up. I'm not going to say goodbye yet. I'm going to look it up so we can tell you guys what we got going on next week because we have some interesting things in the works. We have some cool guests in the works.
But before you do that, I just want to say,
Yep.
I read an article today. I just want to go on a mini tangent. So one of my favorite things to do on this show is show off, of course, we talk about the movie show, the DVDs.
Yep.
There has been, I read an article today that was a little bit bothering that one of the most acclaimed films of 2023 that was distributed by Apple, Killers of Flower Moon, has not going to get a physical media release. Criterion offered them the chance to release it for them and they denied it. Like, please, if you can, go out and, like, one of the films behind me, Barbarian, that movie's going to be 3 years old in September and it still hasn't gotten a physical media release. So please, if you can, if you're financially able to, support physical media, whether it be boutique labels like Criterion or just rummaging through the $5 bin on Walmart, because we cannot let physical media die. If you buy it digitally, you don't always necessarily own it because the studio can request the streamer to pull it off your library. So support physical media.
I'm still blown away that Barbarian doesn't have a physical release.
And
what?
Yeah, that doesn't. And then all of like pretty much the movies that were done by Apple, even the 2020 Best Picture winner Coda still don't have physical releases. We need to release these movies physical.
That's a mind-blowing thing to me. That means Martin Scorsese's last film doesn't have a physical release. Killers of the Flower Moon doesn't have a physical. What? Wow. Man. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, physical media, get back on it. I mean, I still buy. I paid way too much for this. It's a fun movie, but man, yeah, Blue Sunshine. Yeah, I got DVDs all over the place here. Anyway, till next time, we are talking about Bloodsuckers. That's our next week. We are talking about vampires. Get your fangs out. We're going to talk about vampire movies. I'm excited about that because there's a bunch of them. I'm already thinking about
very exciting topics coming up in the next coming weeks that I'm very excited for.
Oh man. Oh yeah. And then at the end, on my birthday, 3/29, we're doing Giallo with two special guests. We got Skylar and Chris, who's been on here several times, are going to join us. Yeah, we're going to talk about Giallo films on my birthday. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
I'm excited.
Yeah, this was one we have been taught. It's kind of been like our Hellraiser episode where we had talked about doing it for months. Except the thing was, I've seen all the Hellraiser movies. I know jack shit about Giallo. And it's just funny because I was like, we've been talking about it. I was like, yeah, I want to do Giallo, but I was like, I don't know where to start. You sent me this huge list. So I've been kind of dogging them. I took a couple week break, but I'm going to be the next couple weeks for that, just going to be knocking off some more off that list.
Yes.
So yeah, got to see a lot of great films for the first time. So I'm pretty stoked.
This is going to be great. It's going to be a good one. But yeah, for real this time. Till next time, guys, with Block of Horror. And this has been the half hour of horror. We're out.